All right, so if you watched the help video, it said that your very first critical point you should always check is the what? Y-intercept. Thank you, Kevin. So guys, if you look at this y-intercept of this purple exponential equation, what point is it at? Let me ask you a question. Where's the y-intercept supposed to be of the parent function? So what does it look like we did with that y-intercept? Down 1, I agree. So my equation is going to say y equals something to the x, and then we're moving it down 1. Are we okay with that? Now here's another way to tell that it moved down 1. Where is the asymptote, the barrier, supposed to be? At 0. Where does it look like it's at now? Yep. Very good. So that asymptote also moved down. If it's a shift, everything moves, including the asymptote and the tail. Everything will go up or down. Okay? So we did shift it down 1. That looks good. Now, you go look at your second critical point in terms of the asymptote, because this is the barrier, the starting point, right? Yes? How many does this second one go up? Good. 2 from the asymptote. So your base is 2. It didn't look like what? It did not reflect. Nope. So if it reflects, let me show you what it would look like. If it reflected vertically, it would be opening down. If it reflected horizontally, it would look like this. It'd be over here. Does that make sense? Y'all okay with the warm-up? Okay, so that's how you tell a shift. Now, we are going to go over the homework. I am not doing number 4, number 7, or number 9. Was it 9, Kendall? I think it was 9. I'm not doing 4, 7, or 9 because I did those in my help video yesterday. So you can check yours with mine. But if you had questions about those, I know you did not watch my video. I'm going to be honest with y'all. You should probably just go ahead and subscribe to my YouTube channel so that you can get a notification when I post a help video. Although I did post an announcement too. I definitely need to do number 6. A lot of you missed number 6. Would you all like for me to do number 8? 6 and 8. Yeah, any from 1 through 3s. I'm going to put mine up so you can check. Do you guys want to just check 1 through 3? And then if you have a question, then I'll pull up the graph and we'll look at it together. Yeah. People at home, does that sound okay? Mm-hmm. All right, let's look at it. Yeah, I mean, that's all necessary writing. That's everything I asked for. So if yours doesn't look like this, you left some stuff out. Let's just do them one at a time so y'all can really see. I'm fine with all real numbers. If it says interval notation, just make sure you put the interval. But I'm okay with that. If you did not list out my transformations, you did get an 85 because it said state the transformations. That was about 2/3 of you. So please make sure you're reading directions. I had to literally post a fussing announcement to my freshman the other day. Your mom probably saw it and probably laughed because we were talking about it. I was like, all right, kiddos, make sure you're reading the directions. You all know how to read. If you didn't, they would have told me. Because they will email me the craziest questions. I'm like, that's in the directions. That's in the directions. In the directions. What parts with number 1 do we need to talk about? You guys got the end behavior and everything right? Okay. No, I'll wait. You're good. I know we're writing. What 2 things should we definitely be able to see from the equation? There's two super easy things you should be able to just look at and get it from the equation. Good. The asymptote will always be your shift, right? Your vertical shift, because it's a y equals asymptote. And what else? There's another thing. The y-intercept is harder. So if you don't know the transformations, that is harder to see. So I'm not going to make you do the y-intercept just from looking at it. Okay, what about the base? You're right. What about the base? This base is bigger than 3. So it should be growth, which means increasing. But then what did we do to it? We reflected it. So instead of going up and to the right, we did a horizontal reflection, which means it goes to the left. So it's decreasing. So you should know just from looking at this equation that the asymptote is at -2, and it is decreasing. Are we good with number 1? Please, please, please ask me questions if you are not. And if you're shy and don't want to ask them in class, I totally get that. That's fine. Come to office hours, shoot me a text, do something so you can get your question answered. I haven't had to work out a problem for anyone on my phone yet. I have a cool app that I found this summer that turns my phone into a whiteboard. And I have a little stylus and I can like work stuff out on it and it'll screen record it and then I can just send it to you. You can ask me help anytime. If I don't answer right away, it's not because I'm ignoring you, it's because I'm a busy woman. All right, number 2, just from looking at this, do you guys see how I put the shift in the back? Okay, you can do that. Why am I allowed to do that? It's adding. Addition is, what's the word? That means you can switch the order. Commutative. Good, Grace. Extra credit. Addition's commutative. I like to put the shifts in the back because that's where I'm used to seeing them in standard form. So that helps me out. So for this one, the asymptote should be at 5. And then if you look at the equation, the base is 3. Does everybody see this? The base is 3, but I'm vertically reflecting it. So it should be growth, but when I reflect it, it's going to be decay or decreasing. So do you guys see how we did get decreasing? And you should be able to see that asymptote. Everything else I found in Desmos.
How do you like write a vertical stretch? Like how do you count?
Do you want me to show you? You would do tables.
Oh, okay.
I can show you that. I'm going to leave that there. Trying to figure out how I can show you while they check this. Just going to do it right here. So I'll turn this around and show y'all. Keep checking your homework. -1, 0, 1. The base is 3, so 1/3, 1, 3. So the first thing you would do in your tables is multiply the y's by -2. And then there's no horizontal stretch, so we don't have to worry about that. So you would multiply by -2. And so that gives you in your next table, y'all are very lucky we're virtual this year because my pre-calc kids last year had to graph all of these by hand. Because you need to, I mean, it's very beneficial to know how to do it. So I multiplied the y's by -2. Then the horizontal shift is left 1, so you subtract 1 from x. And the vertical shift is up 5, so you add 5 to y. Just like we did in Unit 1. That works for every single kind of function. That's why I like to teach it that way. Are there any questions on 2? My online people, y'all are quiet. If anybody missed anything, you guys missed the end behavior. And honestly, that was really about it. A couple of you made a couple of mistakes on the ranges. Like you didn't put, if it's going down, it should be -infinity to the asymptote. If it's going up, it'll start at the asymptote and go to infinity. I'm going to keep going if we're good with 2 though. All right, so here's 3. I did have a very good question about 3 this morning. What is E? A number, good. What number? 2.718, and then it keeps going. It's like 2.7-ish. So that's what we were talking about too. So E is the natural log's base. It's the understood base of the natural log. The reason why we use an E is because it is an irrational number, just like pi. So what does that mean? It just keeps going on forever. There's no pattern. So you can't write it with like a repeater bar or anything. So it's literally, whenever I'm explaining it to Math 2 kids, I say it's just like pi. But we do E because it's what goes with the natural log. So then they were asking me, well, why an E? And I was like, I've Googled that before and I've never found a good answer. So my corny answer for you is natural, nature, environment, E. I don't know. Just, that's how I remember it. Because there's really not a good answer for it. If anybody finds a good answer for it, I'll give you extra credit. But an E is just a number, so don't let that freak you out. But I did tell you that it's 2.718, right? So that's bigger than 1. So it should be growth, increasing. But then what are we doing to it? Reflecting it. Jack, you with me, babe? If there's a negative out front, we're reflecting, which means it's going down now. So it is decreasing. And if you look at this 2 out front, you can totally move it to the back. So it's +2, so it's going up 2. So my asymptote should be at y equals 2. Are we okay? I know you guys did like the key features in Math 3. Does it help now that you know how to find the asymptote and if it's increasing or decreasing just by looking at it? Okay. Any questions on 1 through 3? All right, so let's do 6 and 8 first. I'm going to start with 8. And then we will do 6. I'm actually just going to do it on my paper, if that's okay with y'all. I've got a blank one. All right, so first thing you should check is the what? Nope. Yep, say it again. Good, extra credit. Y-intercept. Where is the y-intercept of the parent function? Good, positive one. It's up here, right? And it looks like this. So what does it look like we did to this graph? Okay, if we moved it down 2, then it would still be opening up, right? So we flipped it. That's good though. You need to know the difference because they're not the same. You can't just say down 2. This would still be going up. So we did flip it, and we flipped it how? Vertically or horizontally? Vertically, good, because now it's opening down, okay? So we know this should say y, or you could say f of x, either one. Some of you didn't put that. If it says equation, it should say y equals, okay? Y equals, we know there's a vertical reflection, and now the only thing I need to find is my base. Okay, Cody, how'd you get 6? Don't say Desmos. Look at the picture. Uh-huh. Good. So when you go over 1, because does everybody agree our asymptote is still at 0? So when we start at the barrier, the baseline, go over 1, it goes down to 6, which means my base should be 6, because 6 to the 1 is 6, and then we're making it negative.
Can you put the
Technically, it doesn't matter for this one because there's no shifts or anything. So you could say y equals -6 to the x like this. You won't see it written inside though, because every number is negative. Do you see this right here? This is a very good question, so make sure you're listening. Everything's negative. If we put in 2 and we have it written like this, what do we get out? Yeah. So since it all needs to be negative, the negative should be on the outside because it's a vertical reflection. Very good question, Maddox. Extra credit. Are we okay with 8? Most of y'all were able to figure 8 out, even if you put it in Desmos. He's not paying me any mind. Oh, all right. First 6. What do you check first? Okay, this one's going to be different, guys. What's your y-intercept at? 0, 2. If you watched my help video, I explained to you the 2 things that could happen next. If we are up at 2, we either stretched it by 2 or we shifted it up 1. How do you know which one we did? What did you just say? Look at your asymptote next. This asymptote is still at 0. So did I shift it up? If you shift it up, everything moves. The asymptote would be at 1 if we shifted it up. Okay? It's not, which means this is a stretch. So this should say y or f of x equals, and we're stretching it by 2. Jack, are you writing these, babe? Stretched by 2. Are we okay with that? All right. How do you find the base? Very good, Chloe. So go over to your next critical point. Start at your asymptote. It goes up 8. Now, if you put 8 in here, that's not correct. Because check yourself. Look at this. When you put in 1 as the x, 8 to the first is 8 times 2 makes what? This point isn't at 16, it's at 8. So look, 2 times what will give us that 8? Good. So your base here is 4. Does it seem better now? I wish you would have watched the help video. That's exactly how I explained it in it. Except my handwriting was bad because I didn't have my ladybug, so I had to write on the computer. All right, so I'm going to let y'all check 4, 5, 7, and 9 in case you didn't watch the video. There's 4, 5, and 7. Okay, so do you want me to go over 7, even though it was in the video? So 7 is going to be 1/2 times 3 to the x. Your next critical point, this one right here, is at 3/2. So we know we compressed it by 1/2 because it's down at 1/2 instead of 1, and the asymptote stayed. So I didn't shift it down, I pressed it down. All right? So we know there should be a 1/2 out front. So if this next point is at 3/2 because it's at 1.5, 1/2 times what gives me 3/2? 3. Does that help? We good with 7? I think everybody got 4 and 5 right from what I saw. So really, there were only 2 challenging ones, and I did one of them in the video. People at home, are we okay? Look at all y'all up here on a Friday getting extra credit. Colin, we miss you.
I'll be back in 2